Well, if you're ready to get started.
What up?
None much, Nick Tyler. Thanks for coming down here, man. So, what you been up to, man? How's the teaching gig going, dude?
Teaching gig, it's going pretty well. Trying right now, getting ready for MPA and trying to get all that settled with the break of the AMEA Conference coming up. This is going to be the kind of kickoff for that.
So I know you're here for AMEA, but what's the other conference, MPA?
The MPA, Music Performance Assessment.
Okay, so tell me a bit about that, man.
It's kind of like the state assessment of music for the state of Alabama.
Right.
And so you have to get on stage again, perform 3 pieces in front of a panel of judges. And so the kids are excited. We have the 3 pieces picked out, trying to make something good for our small community and definitely our small band.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, you started off, you were very eager to start off with such a small community like Cherokee. And that probably comes from, well, I've always known you. You've never been a picky dude. You just got to take what you can get, man.
Yeah,
right?
And that's my advice to anybody is that you have to take what you can get or you're going to be searching for a while. And that was my biggest fear is hearing people talk about, hey, it took me 2 years to find the job or 3 years to find a job. I remember I was cutting the grass and I was cutting the grass at my sister's house. Got an email. It was my 5th interview for Cherokee, and the principal, Pam Morsham, said, I would love for you to come and interview on Tuesday. And I said, absolutely, I can't wait. And then I got off and go, oh, God, where's that?
You just...
And it's why I accepted it, seeing that it was in Alabama, and I was like, I'll take whatever. And then I was like, oh, where's this? Okay. And then I ended up driving, and it went... 2 hours. It was a 2-hour drive from where I was at the time, and as you go closer to it, it's cows, farmland,
Right.
Whole lot more cows.
Now, is this south of Birmingham or north?
North. It is the northwest corner of Alabama.
So it's kind of that weird limbo in the middle of nowhere, kind of like when you drive to Florida.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like, really, it's like you're in a limbo area, and that's how I feel when you're going up there, because you drive and you're on a just small little 2-lane roads, and you're just driving, and eventually you see Moulton, Alabama. It comes out of nowhere.
Moulton, Alabama.
Yeah, and
I've
then
never heard of that place, dude.
It is just, it comes out of the middle of nowhere, and then suddenly, you keep driving, and you see Florence and some of them, and then we're in that area.
Yeah, I took a road trip to Tampa, Florida this past Christmas, and when you're on 231, dude, like they say it's North Florida, right? It's just South Alabama. That's all it is. Because that's what you're in the middle of nowhere. As I drove, there's people selling bonsai trees on the street. I'm like, where in the world am I, dude?
That's kind of how I feel when I drive. I feel like I'm not sure where I am, and then all of a sudden it sneaks up on you. I'm like, oh, here I am.
God, it took me forever to readjust back to Alabama when I got back from New York, because I wasn't so used to it being so dark. I was so used to sleeping when it was extremely bright. There's noise. There's like a dump truck. There's a fight outside. I was used to that for a bit. And I'm come back here. I couldn't sleep for the first night I was back because it was so quiet. It was so weird to me. So I had to just leave my phone on full blast on random video just to have some background noise.
I definitely hear you there. I kind of have to do the same from being in Birmingham for so long. Going up there is that even the road that I live on, I live about 5 minutes from the school, is that there is no street light.
Oh, yeah.
And people fly up and down, and so I try to get some kind of noise going because it's way too quiet out there in the pasture lands.
I feel it's fairly... I find a lot of people, they sleep better with noise on.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people prefer that. Some people sleep with white noise, or... they gotta have something going on in the background for them to feel at peace. Isn't that kind of weird?
To me, it's weird because I always find it weird because to me, I have a playlist that helps me get into a deep sleep. And it's weird that music is something that I can't escape from, but it also helps me go to sleep with.
And I used to be able to do that, but every time I hear music now, I can't sleep because I just try to analyze it or just kind of hear what it is from a mixing guy standpoint. And
right.
That's why I have to listen to something boring like a video game review, a movie review, or something like that for me to fall asleep, dude.
I definitely understand that from your point of view. There's occasionally getting prepared for MPA, I had to pull out some old tricks. I did a score analysis and started doing the music theory portion, kind of analyzing the chords. And I was like, oh God, I hadn't done this in a while. And I was like, oh God, let me get the charts back out. Let me put the chords back out, and oh God.
Well, that's the thing about schooling, right? Is you're not what I try to do when I'm in school now that I'm retaking, I'm taking a couple math courses again now. Obviously, my coursework is a little heavier. Is I'm trying to learn what you're supposed to learn is the mechanics, not the answer, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
So before we get into that more, so tell me a little bit about AMEA. From your point of view, because I've heard it from thousands of professors' point of view, and it's like, it's whatever. But I want to hear it from, I guess a friend's point of view.
All right, so you want to hear it from my point of view? AMEA is Alabama Music Educators Association Conference. It's held this year, and last year was held in Birmingham. Years before that, Montgomery, and it keeps changing locations. Every year's a new bag. You don't really know what to expect. You can kind of look at the people who are going to speak, but you have no idea really what to expect. And so different years are better than other years, and so you just kind of get the professional development hours, meet some people, and some people even say the best professional development is to grab dinner with somebody, an old friend, or someone you're a mentor of yours, and that sometimes you can get the best information that way.
So I could be wrong, and it's my blunt way of putting it, but it just sounds like a hangout. I mean, or is there some deeper purpose to it? There probably is.
There's supposed to be deeper purpose.
Supposed to be.
Yes.
So why do you say supposed to be?
Well, I mean, the idea is for you to get professional development, but a lot of people come to the conference to see old colleagues they haven't seen in a while, or meet up with people they hadn't seen in a while, or
that's fun.
Or kind of like, especially UAB folk, we all flock back home since it's now here in Birmingham this year and last year, so we all flock home.
Oh, I see, man.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
It's just to kind of get that UAB feel back again.
I see.
It's supposed to be in Huntsville maybe next year.
It's supposed to be in Huntsville? Huntsville's pretty nice. I've been there a few times. In fact, I think Van told me he's getting an interview for some contracted work at NASA in Huntsville.
I think that'd be great. I think he'd be good at that.
Well, yeah, because it's a profession, dude.
Right, and I'm pretty sure that Huntsville has the launch codes for the nuclear weapons.
It probably does, because there's an armory in Huntsville, too, isn't there?
Yeah, and then you got the all that space stuff and all that space mechanics they're doing up there. Yeah, they possess something.
Yeah, the coolest thing I remember going there is they have a gutted, I think, SR-71 outside the NASA. It's gutted. They don't leave the tech inside of it, obviously. But
what's the fun in that?
Yeah, what is the fun of that, man?
What's the fun in that? It's no fun.
So why do you think, do you think educators need a lot of professional development, so-called, or what's your opinion on it?
I think we need professional development. I think we need more, I wouldn't say rigorous ones, but the kids are changing. Kids are always changing, like, especially now.
In what sense?
Well, their attitudes, there's this weird entitlement phase that things are going through. Kids are feeling that entitlement. How do you fight around that? Kids' attention spans are just zapping all over the place, so we can't hold their attention as long. And so we're trying to find these new ways to get these kids in. And what we're having a hard time with at Cherokee is that people want the reward without the work. And so not only in band, but in all sports, we found that people are like, I want victory, but I don't want the practice to get there. I don't
or
want
you don't
the
want
work.
defeat.
Right, they don't want defeat, and so when things get hard, people start dropping. We saw that with a bunch of different sports this year.
Well, that's kind of a deal with a lot. That's kind of human nature. A lot of people like that, but it just starts with obviously it starts with the kids. And
yeah, I mean that's where they're getting it. If they do that in high school, and and they're allowed to, then that's going to take off when they get older.
Yeah, they start. It's funny that you talk about how fast they're getting because we all have pocket computers now, phones, right?
Oh,
so you have to understand, and I understand now that kids in general, they're getting a lot more information in. On the technical wise, they're getting smarter and faster. Whether they know how to use that remains to be seen because, no longer is it cool to really just remember all these random facts because you can just pull it up on your phone. You know what I mean? You always had that one friend who would just pull up, all these cool information. Everyone thought he was cool. It's like, wow, he's cool, but not anymore, dude. Just look it up on iPhone. Pull up Safari,
Right, and then just what we have to check is that we're seeing, all these kids are like, oh, well, so-and-so, what so-so website said this was true, but is it a true website? More kids, I feel like, are quoting The Onion, and the ostrich of the Alabama more than anything that we can really pull into.
Or they're pulling their facts from Facebook comment sections, dude. God,
Right.
you've seen those comment sections, dude. They're fun, dude. Sometimes I'm one of those guys. I'll just throw a stupid comment out there to see who it pisses off.
Well, I mean, I send a message to my sister all the time. I'm like, oh my God, look at this. And she's like, geez, what is wrong with this world? I was like, right. And she was like, why would people believe that? And I was like, I completely get you. Like, we're right there. Why would people believe that? But and it cracks me up is that some people read the title of an article on Facebook,
Right.
share it, and have no idea the inner contents.
They have no idea what it says on the inside because it's the writer. It's the writer who did that. He did it for shock value. He knew it was going to grab some eyes, and he knew not everyone's going to read what it actually says.
What one of my kids say is clickbait. When
Yeah.
I got a band kid, and he was like, "Let's make clickbait." I'm like, "We're not making clickbait because that's how we get the views, Mr. Tyler. If we do clickbait."
See, I told you, kids are getting smart. He knows.
He knows where it's at. He definitely knows where it's at. And one example me and my sister had is that someone on our Facebook that we have a mutual friend of put on there snow coming soon to Alabama. And she was like, well, everybody better get prepared. There's snow coming this Saturday. If you click on the article was published in 2016.
Oh,
And so they're not reading to see that it's old. They're just like, oh, there's snow coming, you know. So there, everybody, all those Piggly Wigglies and all those local places, you know, quickly run out of bread and milk for no reason.
maybe it's because she was like a creature of habit in a way where you remember how I said you're getting so much information in nowadays,
Yeah.
right? Where you have to just go through it that quickly. So it's not like you're sitting down and reading the newspaper and digesting or going on Yahoo or whatever, clicking each article. In this day and age, and the way people communicate and just the way the world is, everything's coming at you at a much faster pace. So in one sense, it's teaching everyone how to be more efficient, but sometimes they give up. What am I trying to say? They're going too fast,
Yeah.
and they're completely missing, you know, the meat and potatoes of what they're trying to digest.
Right.
If that makes sense.
The fingers are moving faster than the brain can comprehend.
Well, their mind is, and you were saying a lot about how you had or Cherokee had problems with, you know, some people being really unfocused.
Yeah.
You think maybe that's I don't know if that's necessarily a big problem. I could see where that'd be a problem, but I think it's just nature of young minds. Because
That definitely could be true.
is it a high school, right?
Yeah, high school, but we house 7th grade through 12th grade.
Okay, well,
So we got
I could tell you when I was in 12th grade, I wasn't really that focused. My mind was going all over the place. And
same. We're seeing that senioritis happens day one. Like
Right.
the seniors are already out by day one.
Yeah,
and
man.
then 7th graders now feel like they're the big dogs. You know, they come from elementary school, now they're at high school, and you know,
yeah, quote unquote. That's so funny.
right? You know, just they think that this is the big thing, and you know, I'm so cool. But are you? You know, you're still the small fry of this pole here.
It's still a little bubble. That's what people need to understand, right?
I agree.
This is why I wanted to bring up one thing I asked you about is recently we've been seeing a lot of, you know, obviously there's one good thing that came out of, you know, protecting the kids, which would be the anti-bullying, right? Because
Right.
bullying, yes, it's a big issue and it's messed up a lot of people. There's still some people who feel, you know, they get, I guess, I don't know if PTSD is the right word, but they still get kind of those bad memories from
Yeah.
it. But there's a big problem, right, where the downside of it, right, is now kids don't really develop on their own, if that makes sense, because in a sense you're putting a certain social interaction at a fence in a way instead of letting it happen naturally, right?
True. Yeah.
So here's an example. I shouldn't cuss on this one because I'm pretty sure your students won't listen to this one.
They might. So
They might.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's, you know, it's like, you know, if someone called you stupid, you would call them ugly, and then that'd be the end of that.
Right.
But now you make fun of someone's crappy stick drawing, then they bring in the whole assembly, you know, all the parents come in, you know.
the word "I'm offended" comes in.
Right. Yeah, I get that the parents, you know, obviously you want to protect your kids, you want to protect people you love, but there comes to a certain point where if you overprotect them and you're this helicopter parent,
Yeah.
how are they going to develop, you know, the skills that they need to know when they run into that situation in the real world, because I guarantee you will not helicopter over them if you probably send them to school in another state because you're not there anymore. And who knows, is that kid going to be able to be independent minded or know how to solve these problems? But yeah, I kind of went on a tangent, but you kind of see what I'm going.
I definitely see where we're going, and it's interesting. It's funny and interesting that we're seeing this because colleges are getting more strict on parent involvement, because once you get to college, that is the adulthood. That those students are the adult. Believe it or not, that is the adulthood. When you grab that diploma on the stage of high school, you become an adult, and you made the adult decision to go to college, or to the workplace, and that parent can't hover into that area. That's just it's like restricted territory. And it's interesting that a lot of teachers talk about that maybe 20 years ago, that parents took the teacher side automatically.
Yeah.
Now, the parents are taking the student side without hearing anything. Without hearing the other side, they're automatically taking the student side. And so teachers have to be very cautious on how they cross that line, or just how things operate, because people are trying to say I'm offended, or the story gets mixed up, and there is no, I believe the teacher, the profession is becoming attacked.
Right. I never knew there was a rule of I always thought it was kind of implied. It'd be weird for your parents to follow you around in college. I didn't know it was an actual rule.
Well, I remember having my orientation at UAB, and they were like, your parents can't call and request for your grades. That's not how that works. Your parents can't call on behalf of you to see your financial account or look into your grades and financial system. You're the one to do that. You're the adult, and you got to make that decision to make that happen.
I bet universities get a few extra $1,000 off classes just doing that, because they know not everyone is prepared for that kind of environment. Even granted, college, depending on what you're going for, it's not exactly a hard environment. Unless you're like in some really prestigious school for like pre-med. Yeah, I can see where it gets really competitive there. But I mean, I bet universities have made tons of money off of students who think it was just going to be super easy, like high school, because that's what I would be thinking of doing. It was like, okay, I know roughly 50, if not 60% of this class won't make it in 4 years. So why try to hold their hand through it if they're not gonna initiate to go for it? You know what I mean?
Oh, I completely agree. And so, they're always, and it also, high schools are always judged on how many people go to college. This percent of the high school goes to college. This percent of the high school goes to college. Well, not everybody's meant to go to college.
That's super dangerous in a way, because now going back to the technology, now that we're seeing, the influx of information, and the internet is still relatively a new thing, but we're seeing how fast people are getting in such a short amount of time. People think, oh, it's been 30 years. 30 years is a really short amount of time if you compare it to other times in history.
Oh, yeah.
For example, I mean, think about it. 150 years ago, we were riding on horses, killing each other, that kind of deal. But think about this: 20 years ago, we barely had what am I trying to screw it? The most amount of memory we could have was what, 100, like maybe 8 megabytes.
Yeah.
7 years later, now we have 8 gigs.
Yeah.
People don't realize it, but when you compare it like that, then that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, because just 18 years ago, or 19 years ago, think about it, 19 years, would have marked 2000, Y2K, where people thought that when the turn of the century occurred, that technology would just not be able to comply, and that everything would shut down. People thought the world was going to end in the year 2000 because they thought the turn of the century, technology is going to be so up to date, but we're not going to be prepared for it. Everything's going to shut down at the strike of midnight.
I'm pretty sure people just wanted to troll too, dude.
That too, yes. Every so often there's these.
There's some people who really.
The world is going to end. The world is going to end. Okay, no, it ain't. Just keep moving.
Oh man, That'd be me, man. I'd be just saying stuff like that, and hopefully people abandon the stores, and I just go get a free TV or something.
I hear you.
But that's beyond the point, dude.
But do you know, to kind of finish up that, where you're talking about with the technology and the high schools and things, now that everybody's going to very technology based things, right now we're seeing that there's a shortage in welding, people in the welding industry and stuff like that.
I think there's always been that, because going back to the what are you gonna say? Continue.
You're right. I mean, just there has always been this shortage because of things, but we're trying to almost make it where if you're not one of those that's a student or individual that's big into the book study and that maybe your hands-on is more of that agricultural industry, the hands-on vocational stuff. We still need that, but society looks down upon that. Oh, you didn't go to college? How dare you?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You were saying high schools are heavily judged on how many people go to school, right?
Yeah, how many people go to college?
Which is kind of funny because it's like you said earlier. Obviously, not everyone's meant to go to school. I mean, there's some people who are very successful without going to school, and I know everyone's like, "Oh, how many Elon Musk or how many Steve Jobs or whatever." Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about regular people. Whether it's a welder, they go to the military first before to go into school, or you're a 16-year-old who makes a music video and it blows up, and now you're a videographer traveling around the country. I mean,
we're seeing that a whole lot more now. You know that.
Yeah. I mean, the opportunity is there, and I don't think, and more and more people are starting to think outside the box. But going back to the whole what high school kind of pushing college enrollment thing, it's really dangerous because not only, I think, are you in sort of an environment that's a little bit too protective, and you're not really seeing what's going on. You're being shoved into another bubble in a way, and that just ill prepares you for the world, depending on how your parents raised you up, right?
Yeah. Completely, because you're getting pushed. You got to go to college. You go explore yourself, and when you go there, you're petrified because you get out of this bubble. You get out of one bubble to go into another bubble, and you're not comfortable with that. And then you feel that you have failed because you're like, "This isn't for me. I failed because I was supposed to go to college and I didn't." And and it's good that we go to that people try college, but sometimes you just got to look and see what am I good at and where can I be successful at.
I mean, sometimes the good thing to do is. I mean, I had a friend where he went to college for one semester, said it wasn't for him. He came back a year later when he worked around. He actually traveled around the country for a bit to figure out what he wanted to do. And when he came back, he was more prepared, and he actually knew what he wanted to do. So, yeah, not only that, the environment that they get pressured in, or they feel like it's overwhelming, it's the financial aspect of it. We're seeing the amount of student loan debt right now is insane. I don't know how much is that, but I'm pretty sure it's at least $1.5 trillion right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty expensive. And
just for school.
Yeah.
College loans. We're not talking about mortgages. We're not talking about car loans. We're talking about for school.
Right. The FAFSA financial loans that people are getting, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. And I was talking with, Logan Gash. I was talking with him, and I said, it's going to take me forever. It might take you forever. He goes, a couple surgeries. I'll probably have that in the pocket. Because as a nursing student going into a doctor, sure, his debt will be high, but his pay will be high to knock that out.
His pay will be high, and it really depends on how much he wants to pay, pay per month to knock it out. Some people really want to knock it out. Some people, they just can't take their time with it. I mean, either way, it just depends on what kind of lifestyle you want, right?
Right. You either take it. Right now, my policy is taking it slow and steady because I don't, as a teacher, I ain't got that kind of cash. I ain't got a cash to just throw down like, I'm done.
I'm lucky. My policy is pay as much cash as possible up front, because I can't imagine. That's why you see some people like they hate their job, but they're stuck there because if they leave, well, these payments come in. It's going to follow them. Have you also heard stories of people leaving the country to escape their student loan debt?
I have not heard that. What an idea. What an idea.
I just gave you. No, but some people do that because they can't find a job. They didn't pick the right, thing to go to school for, or they just got plain unlucky. So, I mean, with roughly 50, maybe 90,000, maybe even 210,000 hanging over your head, where are you going to go? You're just going to leave.
Right. I mean, it's not a terrible idea, but terrible idea for the country, not a terrible idea for the individual.
It's really bad because when it comes to student loans, obviously, all I know is you got to get co-sign on it. It's whatever, right?
Right.
But the dangerous thing is people are starting to borrow money into the future.
Oh, yeah.
And that's you see this a lot with credit cards, right? It's basically the cigarettes of financing money, because it might not kill you, but it's definitely bad for you.
True, and that's a great way to put it. That is absolutely a great way to put that. And that it just starts, pulling you down and draining you down, and especially during the holidays, you hear people talking about why is it that we spend so much money on the ones that we love to get them all these extravagant things when it's not needed. And we put ourselves into this financial debt, and we dig this hole that we can't get out of.
I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how people do it, to be honest. I'm not knocking anyone who went to school has student loans, but I don't see how you could do that. I think the biggest loan I ever took out was like $2,000 for a business. I got so scared. Even though I ended up paying it back, I got so scared. I was like, how am I going to pay this off? It just kind of hovers there,
And the interest rate is what gets.
Yeah, and late payments.
Yeah, late payments and interest rates. Yeah, that's for sure. And that's kind of been with me. I'll look back. I'm like, crap. I might have been late on that payment. Crap. There goes my rate going back up. Jesus.
It's crazy, dude.
And that's that's the bob and the weave that we're currently living in. And that's what I keep telling a lot of my students in my music appreciation and in my band. You just got to understand what's happening with the times, understand what's happening, bob and weave what you can, just be able to take the cards you're dealt, because you can't, as a young age, you can't change the cards you're dealt, but you can change how it plays out.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely change how that plays out. Maybe you're dealt a crappy hand, and that's fine, but how you end this game, you can bluff your way in to great things happen to you.
That's really good. I'm glad you teach your kids stuff like that, because that's really important, because I'm about to kind of segue into the next subject. Because, you've heard stories of really bad teachers, the ones who just kind of show up and collect the check.
Yeah.
There's also professors who kind of do that too.
Oh, yeah.
I think. Because they hide behind... Tenure is basically salary. And once they're there, it's kind of like they signed a contract, and basically the university cannot get rid of them. They're kind of there. I'm guessing that's how it works.
Kind of like that, where it's like... before tenure, and it depends on the place. Most schools, it's a 3 or 4 year kind of almost probation period of you teaching. You have to prove to that school system that you're worth being there, that you're good enough to be investing in, that they can invest in you. And so within that non-tenure period, the faculty, staff, administration, they can actually, send somebody off with no reason of having them leaving, just because they're in a probation period. Once you're tenure, it takes a little bit more, takes harder to get.
Right. They basically get a little more protection.
Yes, that's the thing. It's more protection after a while, because if you're, in a school and it's definitely been there 3 or 4 years without a problem or without any issues that are humongous or different things, then they're like, yeah, you're worth for us to protect and put investment in you.
Is it the same way in, public schools, like a high school, or probably not?
Well, sometimes, it all depends. Once you get tenure, there is this more protection around you, that you're staying in there and you're investing. And definitely tenure is also a word that people put with synonymous with experience, because if you're there and you have tenure, that means definitely you have experience into what you do. And so sometimes I hear colleges, it's harder to get tenure because Lord, I've seen professors and communicated with professors at UAB, not in the Department of Music, but just in general, and I've contacted them back for maybe another class, and they're not there.
Yeah, that's so crazy to think about. It's when you're young, you look up to these teachers and you think, oh, they really know what they're doing. But obviously, the older you get, say around, probably earlier now, but when I got around 18, 17, I started to realize, hey, they don't really know everything sometimes.
Right.
They're just people, just like us, trying to figure out things and dealing with crap, and they slip up.
Especially when little Johnny asks you a question that's off the wall that you did not expect to happen.
He pulls up a quantum physics question.
And he's like, I really want to know what I'm getting even in music, and it has no relation to music, that people are, especially younger kids, are believing the Flat Earth Society idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's actually a society that the Flat Earthers kicked out, right? They call it the space is fake.
The space is fake.
Yes, and even the flat earthers said, "No, y'all are too stupid. Y'all need to get away from us."
That is the best.
Even the flat earthers said, "Y'all are too stupid." It's so funny, dude.
I think that is hysterical. But yeah, I had to debunker that today. Someone's like, I think the Earth is flat, and their purpose is gravity. They're like, why is everything flat? I'm like, that's called gravitational pull that's pulling us into the center. And so what you think is flat in longevity, it's not.
I think people don't realize how small we are in the grand scheme of things. I mean, here's a scary thought. This is completely unrelated to education, right? Think about it. If the Earth were to blow up, right? What would it prove we ever existed? All the culture, the languages, the history, what we've done, what we've made, that would all just be gone. That's a crazy thing to think about, right?
Right. Is that in that moment, everything that we've worked hard for through years, over 2,000 years, gone.
Yeah, maybe even more than that. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't even know the answers, dude.
Right. We don't need. But it's crazy, and what's weird to really think about is that they're finding things on Mars.
Yeah.
And they're finding things on other, on Mars and other planets. And Lord, me and you grew up and where it was like Pluto's a planet. Then at one point it wasn't a planet. Now it's a planet again.
Now it's a planet again. Yeah. They can't make up their minds.
They can't make up their minds because who's journeying out that far? But it's so funny. It's like flip a coin. I think it's planet. I don't think it's planet. It's just out there.
It would take a lifetime, maybe even more, if you sent out a satellite to Pluto. Which I'm pretty sure they sent out some satellites, but they haven't gotten that far yet because that's how vast space is. But going back to the whole, tenure professor tangent we were on, I've seen stories of it's funny. These are mainly like, high profile universities of professors saying whatever the hell they want. And then they'll say, oh, you can't do anything about it. I'm here. I ain't going anywhere. So, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, what's your opinion on professors who abuse tenure?
They're hurting, especially if you're going into the education field. They're hurting future educators because you're not properly teaching. You're just like, I can say whatever the crap I want to say. I don't really have to teach. I'm here. Your parents can't complain. The university isn't going to listen to your parents. We just want your money. And so I think it's just hurting. It's kind of a retirement plan. I feel like for some professors, they're like, if I go to university, if I get tenure, I ain't got to do much.
There's some professors that actually do that kind of stuff.
So, yeah, definitely been in those classes.
Like they won't show up. But from their point of view, they're thinking, why should I give a damn anymore? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Why should you? Because here you are at the peak of your career at a university. Names on the door or names on the syllabus, and you're just teaching. Whether the people get it or not, and that's definitely that divide between high school and colleges. College don't give a care if you get the subject matter or not. Your job is to get it. In high school, we're focused and we have to make sure that they get the information.
Whether it's effectively used or not?
Right, whether it's effectively used or not, whether they actually obtain the information or not. And it's not just Cherokee, but it's just in places and all over the country and all over the state, is that we're like, hey, teachers, you need to make sure your test scores are up. These kids have to get this thing. These kids have got to have high test scores. And what we're doing is sometimes teaching a test, not teaching material.
It's kind of like it's really comparable to corporate environments.
Yeah.
Think about it. What would you do to change the high school education or the whole education thing in general? Because obviously I always talk about technology, but going back to technology and how fast things are going, right? I think that the field of education, right?
Yeah.
It's no offense to you, but the way I see it, for 95% of people who are in education, they're there because they know it's an easy job, right? Mm-hmm. But then you get a very small amount of people who actually do put some time, effort, and care into it. Like Dr. Z, for example. He's tenured. That man doesn't have to show up, but he does anyway. He works 80 hours a week.
5 a.m.
Yeah.
5 a.m.
He does 80 hours a week, but I see some people going to they say, I want to be a teacher. And I see, what they do, like their work ethics, their habits. And they're not that special. I mean, that sounds so cold and cruel, right? But I think that just comes from having a work environment that's not competitive, and once you get past a certain point, you're pretty protected in that sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, what would you do to change the whole shebang, I guess?
To change the whole shebang, let me tell you. I mean, and you're right. There is a percentage of teachers who are like, oh, well, I guess I'll just go into education. For what purpose do they have? I have no idea what purpose they got them there. I don't know. But for me, I wanted to go into education because for me, music, through my middle school band director, changed my life. Growing up, I didn't have a lot. Family was going through bankruptcy and stuff like that. And so music was my only escape from the reality and the harshness that things came about. And so I wanted a better life. And mom and dad worked real hard. It's just times kept, knocking at them, and times were just tough in general. And they raised me and my sister the best they could. And it's just, we both needed an escape. My sister's was art, mine was music, to escape into this. And so that's what the influence I got was my middle school band director, who I probably will see, as I always do every year at AMEA, Brian Wilson, who pretty much was like, music is a universal language.
Right.
That you could go, you can go to these different countries. You may not understand where they're starting, but once the baton goes down, boom, there it is. It's a universal idea. And so to me, I wanted to go into education to impact others like I was impacted. And that's why I'm in education. And then to me, I think we're trying to get test scores up in education, and that's cool for what it is. We're also trying to get technology on the rise, but not every school is properly equipped for the technology. Like,
So how would you change that?
Try not to go politically, but right now, I mean, parents are not able to afford the things we're trying to make happen. Right. Just for example, a lot of people in my band, I couldn't tell you what their parents look like. I don't see them. We got some people who I know that they are almost the provider, almost of the house, and they really help do that stuff. And so to even say, can you buy something for $25? That's gonna a lot for some of these people around the country who are in low social economic status areas.
Right.
And that's the thing, is that growing in Birmingham, you saw all these riches. And then you go into kind of the northwest corner or somewhere that's low social economic wise,
right?
And it's just a completely different ball game. How you dress as I'm dressed right now, the khakis and dress shirt and a sweater. People are like, oh, he must have a lot of money because he dresses nice. But it's like, no, the thrift store. Like, I promise you that. But right now we're trying to make, we need to have one-on-one technology. We need to have this to that. But, some kids aren't equipped with that at even home, and we're trying to get it more technology-based. But kids' phones sometimes don't have data, or the Wi-Fi's we're in these low social economic status areas. And so we're not able to be technology advanced like we want to be. And so we're still trying. But I think that when they get to the high school time, especially like ninth grade, maybe have them start focusing, have a career path almost ready for them. Like, hey, if you want to go into the arts, here's a course of study kind of idea to get you prepared for that degree. In high school, in college, you get you better ready, prepared for that kind of area. Oh, you want to go into welding and a lot of the vocational stuff? You're going to spend majority of your time doing that and the math or the science that applies to that. Because, I mean, right now, we're just having these kids learn these different subjects, but are they worth it? Like,
that's the big question. That's the big question. Is
right,
it worth it?
I mean, is it worth it? Because, I mean, we're looking at these kids learning how to solve all these things in math, but is it going to help them in the career path that they want? And a lot of people who want it in our school, who wants to go vocational, they ask, why does all this y plus b equals 2 over whatever it is, y equals mx plus b, why does that matter to them?
Well, it's because public school environment's gone too corporate. That's all it is.
Yeah. We're trying, and especially with this Common Core at one point went to, where everybody across this country has to be teaching the exact same way, and things started getting real complicated. I started helping one student, and I said, well, you just got to simply do that. You know, it's big numbers. It was like an elementary school student. It was big numbers, maybe 32 plus 50 something. And so I said, oh, well, just add those together. Like, no, what they want us to do now is take 32 and round it. Does it go round up or does it round down? I'm like, but that's 32. And they're like, no, but really, we have to now think of that as, is it rounding up or rounding down? And you round it to 30, it's 50. Then you add those together and then add the 2.
I think what they're trying to do, what they tried to do with Common Core, right, is it doesn't have to make sense, right? They want to teach you, what they were trying to do is kind of push these kids in thinking of a way of a different kind of problem solving. A more analytic, more in depth. So you're thinking more about the mechanics in that sense instead of just going right there. That's something my Cal teacher talks about a lot. Is in his class he doesn't, in Cal in general, they don't care about the answer of the equation, right? They want to see the mechanics, what you did behind it.
Right.
So I think that's what Common Core wanted to do. But I think the big problem I see behind Common Core is, or in general, when the government does something or they try to force something, this goes for anything, like political, social, when you try to force something, it's not going to work 80% of the time because you're trying to push it at a rate that people aren't going to digest it. Nobody's ready for it. And then it's just going to end up being rejected. We could talk, this can apply for, gay acceptance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind gay people. I'm pretty sure you don't mind gay people. But, I mean, still, it's got to take its course. It's got to take time. It just can't happen. The government just can't come in and say, okay, you will like all gay people. Well, yeah, that'll be law. But there's still people, there's still little pockets, or there's going to be majority of people who are still against it because it takes time. That's the thing about it. So
I completely agree. And especially the older an individual is, especially here in the solid South.
Yeah.
It'll depending on the age, because not a lot of parents or grandparents are accepting that because in their time growing up, that wasn't even thought about. A lot of parents right now and a lot of grandparents, LGBTQ, what are all those initials meaning? Gay, what is this? What is happening? And now it's a cultural thing.
But yeah, but going back to the whole school thing. What was I talking about? Crap. This happens to be every episode where we go on a tangent and I just completely forgot what I was talking about.
You're talking about if I could change education, what would kind of happen and what would I make happen?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, what kills me is especially textbooks in college. You mean to tell me that you changed 1 or 2 words from edition 3 to edition 4, and now this book costs $300?
Oh, come on. They just try to get suckers.
Oh, I know. And I had an English professor one time. He made us buy edition 1. And someone goes, well, they only have edition 10, and they say that you have to teach edition 10, and that's about $200. He goes, edition 1 is $5 on Amazon. If you'll just go to Amazon and get the first edition of this book, don't buy any of the other expensive. If it's not $5, don't get it.
He's the real homie.
Right. Exactly. And so, I mean, he's just like, why would we continue to have you guys pay tons of money for a textbook you may or may not use?
Because the print industry's dying. Yeah. When it comes to college textbooks, I think that's basically
the only lifeline it has,
or the main lifeline it has.
Yeah.
Once that's gone, I mean, who the hell cares anymore? You know what I mean?
Right. Because now you can do it in ebooks. You can actually rent ebooks.
Right. Or you can go on, some illegal website, download the whole PDF, and share it with your friends.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's the truth.
I'd be lying if I say I didn't pull that off when I was in college. It's that let me go find the free PDF of this information I need.
I think one of my first intro classes, right? They forced us to buy this book. So all 10 of us in the back, we just chipped in some money, and then every day of the week we'd be like, all right, you photocopy this, you photocopy that. And so by halfway through week 2, we had a folder of everything we needed, and we didn't have to spend $300. We spent like 30 a piece.
Perfect, which is amazing. And that is real ingenuity right there.
That's called being broke, man. That's called I don't want to spend that money, dude.
Oh, I feel it. Oh, same. And so one thing I used to do, I would wait until syllabus day. Oh, yeah. People were like, oh, you got to go buy your books. I was poor. Like, when I grew up and I accepted college, my parents said, well, we didn't go to college. You're going to college. This is your decision. not ours. We will not pay for your decision to go to college. You're going to make it through somehow. And so at that point, when people are like, oh, you got to buy your textbooks, I was like, I am broke. And so I would wait till syllabus day. And what I found out is that whatever's online don't match the syllabus sometimes. And so they would come in on syllabus day and the professor was like, we have to put these 5 books down, but that's not what I want you to get. I want you to go get a different book that's going to cost less. And everybody's like, well, I got to take these back. And the bookstore won't take them back for full price because you bought it and touched it.
Yeah, they'll take it back at 30%.
Yeah.
Maybe 20%.
And so I learned, just wait. Don't go buy textbooks before the first day. You never know what that professor's going to pull.
Or in other words, let the other people go, or send the other people in the cave first.
Right.
Kind of
Yes, let them go and let's just bait them in.
Let's just wait and see. That's so messed up, but
it works when you're broke.
Yeah, that's
Take your broke tail home when you ain't got nothing to do. I mean, when you're broke, I mean, you're just gonna, feed off the land or be like, psst, psst, I need a copy of that page. Hey, that page you got, I need that copy.
Yeah,
right,
dude, for sure, man. God, what was I saying? Print is just one of those college textbooks. I cannot wait for the day that just goes away, because now these people who were really comfortable for a while didn't have to compete to make money. Well, now if they didn't save money, they were an idiot. Now they're screwed.
Yeah,
that's why I'm a big fan of meritocracy in general, where everything's based off merit and your skill. It's not based off some diversity or like some numbers or anything. It's just based off, okay, can you do the job or not?
Yeah.
And
there's 2 paths. You can't, either you can
or you can't.
Or you can't.
It's simple. It's just like that. And what was I going to say? This goes back to the realm of education, right? Where earlier I said it was kind of, some people use it as like the welfare of jobs, because it's kind of, it's secure. You don't got to do much. No teacher will ever have to lift 60 pounds over their head or work out in the sun like a roofer. So whenever I hear people say, oh, you don't know how hard teaching is, it was like, excuse me? Those guys, those engineers who work out on oil rigs, and then the oil rig catches on fire and they have to dive in the water where the water is also on fire with oil? Yeah, you sure your job's that hard?
Right. I mean, each job, I think, when it irritates me to see the crap on Facebook where people like bashing other professions. Each profession has its pros and cons.
Of course.
Has its hards and its easy moments. And right now, and it's crazy with people talking about how unemployment, it's on the rise or whatever. Just working. That's just work. That's the thing. Just go out there and work. If you can. Go work. Every job has their ups and downs. And that's what makes us all different. If we could all do the same job, it wouldn't be America.
Right. I think more people nowadays, they're working 2 jobs instead of 1. That's become more of a normal thing.
It is a normal thing. People used to think that was crazy.
Yeah, people used to think going to work while in school is crazy. Well, I'm saying that because Asians think that, but
most people do think that. Asian or not.
Let me tell you. I just like making fun of Asians on the show, dude.
I love it.
If you listen to the other episodes, I'm pretty sure I've crapped on Asian people at least 7 times.
But see, that's your personality. That's what I love. That's what I always. It's hysterical.
People don't believe I'm Asian. I don't think they'll think I'm Asian. But
whatever.
What was I gonna say? Man, what was I saying, dude? I got on a tangent about crapping on Asians. I forgot what I was gonna say.
You were talking about how working and going to school, people think that's crazy.
Okay, yeah. Here's what I was just saying. I think every child or every person needs to either work in retail or the restaurant business.
Hallelujah.
Because
to the men. I will cheers all day.
Because that'll teach you so many things. Because you're not only learning the value of money and a work ethic, you're also around people who probably weren't that lucky. You're running into that guy who got stuck there, and you can learn a lot from that. Being in an environment where it's not just, oh, I wonder if she liked my Instagram photo. Instead, if you're working like as a line cook, it's like, now I got to worry about me not burning my hand on the stove, or
cutting off a finger. Oh yeah, I worked the restaurant business. I used to work at Chili's in Fultondale. I worked that from the age of 17 all the way up until I got the job at Cherokee.
Were you a waiter or a line cook?
I did everything on the front half. So I didn't cook, but I did almost everything else. I have washed dishes. I have hosted. I have done the to-go served. And it's really interesting that, the server wage is $2.13 an hour.
Right, because they're assuming you're gonna get tips off.
Right, they assume. You know what assuming does.
Yes.
and so you know what assuming does. And so that's what cracks me up is that people are like, oh, well, you're going to make the money. Are you sure? Because the serving life depends on people coming in. It depends on other people. It's a profession where it is a profession where you have to go out there and people have to come in and they are your livelihood. Those people you're serving are your livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, the best, sometimes, and a lot of people will agree, the worst tipping people are Sunday.
That's true. Because they already tipped at the church.
They already tipped at the church. And they'll call it that. I've given God 10%. Why should I give you any more? And it's like, and cooks too. If people aren't coming in the restaurant and the servers aren't serving, the cooks ain't cooking, we're all down the hole here.
Yeah, that means the cook's hours might get cut.
Yeah, cook's hours get cut. Restaurant may go down. And so retail too, Black Friday, that whole Black Friday now until like Thanksgiving night, that is a mess.
God, I know you heard of that. I know you heard of what happened at the Galleria on Thanksgiving night about the whole ordeal about some guy the dude getting shot when he wasn't the perpetrator. Right.
I was actually almost going to head that way during that time, and then me and my sister both stopped and went back in the house.
Yeah, that's a big problem, too, because, it's sad because somebody died, but on the other side, you also see, I'm not trying to make little of his death. I mean, yeah, he was running around with a gun. That was pretty stupid. He shouldn't have done that, but that was still a bad situation either way. Active shooter, he's walking around with a gun out. I mean, off-duty officer. He just hears a report. He sees people running. He sees this guy running out with the gun. I mean, his own deduction kind of led him to that. But what I was trying to say was, the bad thing is, and I know this is getting a little political, but there are people who will use this situation to push an agenda instead of, you're supposed to be mourning the life of someone's life, right? And I'm not trying to say that that this wasn't wrong. You shouldn't just sit there idly and just send prayers, right? But there are those kinds of people out there who will just take advantage of it. They don't give a damn about that family. They don't care about the loss of life. They just want to take advantage of it, make a little dime. I'm not saying everybody's like that. There are people who really are getting tired of people getting shot for no reason, and they want change. And there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe I just went on a tangent just to attack vultures, dude.
No, but Childish Gambino in This Is America, I have depicted that music video a while, and I teach it to my kids, is that there's so much behind that music video. The music is fine, too. If you look at the music video, it speaks wonders. In the opening scene where an individual gets shot, they drag the body, but they cover up the gun as if it's something sacred.
Yeah.
They wrap it and they cuddle it.
They do that. They do that for every gun.
Yes, for every gun that's used in that, they cuddle it and they that's a precious thing. But the body isn't. The body's just dragged off every single time.
There's a lot of things in the background where I can't really recall it, but the more you watch the video, the more you watch the video and the more you pay attention of what's going on in the background, the more it kind of makes sense. And it's kind of cool that he kind of did that.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is you have to look at the background of that music video. But he brings that same idea up, is that there's all these hidden agendas to these different things, be it the textbooks, the fight for print for textbooks, and that's why they're so high, be it the fight for education of Common Core for the understanding of the behind the scenes of it. Whatever it is, the background stuff is what we have to pay attention to. We're always trying to see what's up front. We really need to look behind that and say, what the crap's going on behind it? What's going on behind the scenes of this? Why does this matter? That's the essential question we need to be asking.
As long as people know behind everything, there's just a guy making money off it. That sounds a little cynical, but yeah.
But right now, that's how society is depicting that, is that everybody's just trying to make a buck, and, because that's currently how it works, is that everybody's trying to do whatever they can to make a dollar, but there's so much more to it. Kendrick Lamar even brought that up, and, Black of the Berry brings that up there, Eminem brings it up, Pink brings it up. There's a lot of musical artists that talk and knock out that whole society thing about, take a step back. Like, we're going to be us. NWA, for Lord's sakes.
Oh, yeah. I was listening to him a bit. Yeah. What was it? What else was I wanted to go into something else.
All right.
What did I want to go into? I screwed it. Next thing, you were gonna say something?
Just whatever it is, it's gonna be fun. I know it. I love it.
Do you think? So we were talking about how we would solve education, right? Let me tell you how I think I would solve education.
All right.
So, whenever you get you've got a beef tenderloin, right, which is
Yeah.
filet mignon. What do you do? What do you do with it? Obviously, you cut it up,
Right.
and what do you trim?
The fat.
So my way is a little more crazy, right? How would I start funding?
Okay.
Things about technology and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, how am I trying to say this? Let's start with college, because college is a lot easier, right? So why when someone goes to college for mechanical engineering, why do I take history classes and English classes and literature classes, right? So here's the dangerous part. We just say, hey, if you're in engineering, don't worry about these classes, focus on what you do. But here's the problem, right? Some industries, like I'm going to say one industry in academia, for example, like the art education. How do they make their money?
All depends.
Off donations and off probably education. Yeah. Do they make that money privately? Very rarely. Right. Very rarely. I'm talking about you have a better chance of winning the lottery ticket, right? And I'm talking about, that fine, sippy art. I'm not talking about graphic design or, commissions, because that's okay freelance work as far as I know.
Right.
But you kind of get what I'm saying is why is college, why do you have so much crap you have to take? Well, it's because there's some industries that can't survive without it. There's some industries that strictly live in academia. English.
Right. Yes. I completely agree on that one, yeah.
Some people can make the argument for music, but music also has a bunch of private enterprises too, in a sense. I mean, so you're kind of just stabbing at nothing there. I mean, yeah, you could say music education, but that's the same as say, a math education.
Right.
Way.
So I definitely hear what you're saying. Like English, there's always this joke in academia and stuff. It's like, oh, you're majored in English, you must want to teach. Not all English people want to teach. But there's only so many things you can do, like write.
There's only so many things you can do with it.
Right. There's only so many things you can do with it. Kind of like a counseling degree. A psychology degree. That's more of the idea. Psychology degree. It's very open and broad. If you don't master in something specific, it's very much a broad degree.
God, I can't imagine that, dude. Majoring in psychology. What are you gonna do?
There's these.
Maybe if you double major in psychology and you're going to med school, maybe.
Right.
But, I mean, just there by itself, what are you going to do with it?
There's a million things you could do, kind of, but you have to then go into something specific in masters. A trumpet player that I played with at UAB, Kelsey Dale, she got a psychology degree at UAB undergrad. Right. She turned around and immediately went and got her master's in childhood development. And so she's a kind of an elementary school counselor, and that's what she wanted to do. And she knew that. But she knew that she has to get the psychology degree first. Kind of found that that's what she liked. Really wanted to focus in on this area. Turned right back around and went to UAB just for the kind of developmental growth and stuff like that. And so you have to master in something to then find a better focus of what you're going to do with that degree.
What you mean specialize, right? Or you're talking about masters of going to school?
Well, you just have to specialize in something.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to have a degree in that specialty to prove that.
But anyways, me going back to what I was saying. With my method, a lot of people lose jobs. That would make people very happy. I mean, what if I just went to a public school right now saying, oh, we need more technology, we need to focus it. I'd be like, how bad do you want to focus on technology, math, and science, right?
Right.
And if they say really bad, it's like, if I just had the power, it's like, all right, cut English, history, music, home ec, past the 10th grade. After that, none of that.
Right.
You're just focusing on this. You kind of see what I'm going at? That means you probably get less hours, less things to do.
Yep.
Your money would get cut. So that's also another thing I think it's going to happen within the next 10 to 20 years. I mean, I could be wrong. I think Australia, some country on the other side, they said that we're not giving out student loans for people who don't major in STEM anymore. I thought, Okay, fair enough. That's good. I mean,
Because that's where it's going. That's where the world's currently going, is the STEM.
yeah, and the thing about it is, you're not gonna get your money back from. You're not. I'm sorry. If 20 people get a master's in English, you're gonna get money back from 4 of them. You're not getting much ROI from it.
Right.
And if you are getting ROI, you're getting like the minimum payment where they'll be done paying it off in 157 years. You kind of so
Well, I see there. You know, one thing we're seeing, I kind of see the only downfall with what we're kind of pushing at right now, and a lot of the teachers have all talked about it. Lord, reading and spelling is on a all-time low. It is because the computer can read it for you.
oh yeah.
Autocorrect. Autocorrect may be the greatest, dangerous blessing that we've had, is because when I ask kids on different things to write in pen and paper, their handwriting first is terrible. Their spelling is absolutely awful. And they're like, well, the teachers are teaching. Sure, but what they're going home to doing is going to autocorrect. But STEM is a huge thing that's happening in the world, and that's what's going to develop this very technological world. And recently, STEM actually got added, another letter got added to it.
What's the other one?
STEAM.
What's the A? Arts?
Arts.
I don't agree with that.
The arts is an important aspect of it.
All right. I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
No, arts is important, but hear me out.
I'm all here.
I don't agree with the STEAM because what they're trying, the whole idea of that is they're trying to say, oh, I'm as valuable and as important as these guys, and I should be paid this much as a STEM guys. It's kind of like virtue signaling when, no, that's not the case because one, most of people in the arts, right? I say most very loosely. I know somebody's gonna watch this, give me crap, but hear me out.
Oh yeah.
Most of it is public sector work.
Yep.
Whether that's education or you work for a nonprofit where you basically live and die off donations, right? So are you really generating revenue? No. Art is very important, but don't get it twisted with rigorous careers like a doctor, an engineer, or oil rigger. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Right, and what the fine line is with the whole A added to it is people were looking at graphic arts and artistic design, stuff like that, and they're like, well, that's not important. And then especially with music technology on the rise, with the technology aspect and the mathematical, that happens into that, people were like, well, music technology is completely important. And they're like, well, not really, because it's not a part of STEAM.
Don't get it twisted, right? I like what I do. Is it as hard as mechanical engineering or like a rocket scientist? Hell no, it's not. It's not. I love it. I love what I do though, but I'm just real with myself that's saying what I do, right, is I know I'm not going to get a salary from it. It's all based off, contracted work. It's basically freelance stuff. It's not on the same level up there or as important to society as actual engineering jobs.
Because it's not, especially because musically, it's not. There's nothing in music. Nothing in music is a guarantee.
Exactly. That's the thing about it. What was I going at? We were talking about STEAM adding to arts.
How you would transform education?
No, I already said I was gonna say a lot of people are gonna lose their jobs, administrators, that kind of deal. But art is important, but it's not. It shouldn't be in the same realm as STEM because that's a whole different ballpark. You kind of get what I'm saying? So, I mean, I feel like you were going to disagree with me on it. So, go ahead. Tell me what you think of it.
I mean, we can agree to disagree. And there is moments that arts, into the arts and the music, that it should be into that. Especially, I don't know, in the movie sense, especially movie music for centuries. The music and the scores behind it have helped make the movies. And all that, because that is a dry product without music.
Right. I agree.
That is a completely dry product. And so for the other industry of movie making to work, the music has to be on point.
Right.
And so to me, it isn't necessary. But at the same time, here in the United States, I don't think arts is as important as it is in the European nations.
Well, I have a weird theory behind that. Why it's a little more important in it's more we see it more valued in Japan and Europe, right?
Right.
Well, here's the reason why. Because currently, I'm pretty sure America is the biggest music market in the world. So whatever we digest and crap out, well, other countries get it later. That's why Japanese people love jazz still.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because America is the biggest, as far as I know, the biggest music market in the world. So everything we do, 10 years later, it's going to be hip somewhere else.
Lord, that means Gucci Gang's gonna be hip somewhere else in 10 years.
It will be.
Oh God,
It will be.
Yeah, that scares the crap out of me. That Gucci Gang and all that, Lil Pump and all that. That's gonna be popular in 10 years somewhere else.
God, imagine a college course where you gotta teach music theory, but you're teaching you're teaching Gucci Mane, Gucci
right.
Gang. That'd be hilarious to me.
We're
because
gonna depict Gucci Gang. We're gonna pick Lil Pump and Gucci Gang.
we're gonna say, I'd like you to analyze why did Lil Pump feel this way?
Right. Well,
Why did he feel?
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the answer. It's because he realized that all he'd do was say a couple things, have a cool sick beat behind it, and it would market well, and it did.
It did. You can't knock the hustle on that, man.
No, because what he did he make a song that was musically great? Not really. Did he make something that sold? Yes.
Yeah.
He made tons of money off that, and he made it to where it could sell.
He made it to where he could do a song with Kanye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all these people, it's like, that's how, I hate to say this, but that's how Justin Bieber was found. One of those little small YouTube videos, and suddenly, then he has a mentor, and then that takes off that way too.
Yeah, I think his manager is Scooter Braun. Scooter Braun, I like his style of managing. He's a beast, dude. But we're not gonna go into that because I don't know much about that world of management. All I know it's very hardcore babysitting, in a sense.
They also say that about teaching, but that's a different ballgame.
I mean, how do you feel about that?
About managing?
No, how do you feel about people when people say teaching is babysitting?
Teaching is babysitting. I mean, we do a whole lot more. I mean, they are young, open-minded, and exposed to everything that we can give to them. We just have to be willing to expose them to everything that we give to them. And they're such a young mind that we are helping shape the future generation of voters, future generation of politicians, future generations of important people in our lives. We are helping shape them. We're not a glorified babysitter. We are helping train the future of America.
I think what you say is more true the higher up you get.
Yeah.
Like when you start teaching high school, college, or mass, doing you know what I'm saying. But
I get you. That there is this more impacting as it gets older because they're open to those things.
But now let me ask you this: now, how about them kindergartens, first grade, and second grade, and third grades? Everything before high school, basically. I'm more willing to say, yeah, you're kind of well.
That is a special calling in this universe to do that. I couldn't do elementary education, but that's just my personal talk on that. But some of them that is, but some of them that's maybe their helicopter parents didn't let them exposed to many things, and those teachers are exposing them to other interactions. Like those kids are learning for the first time how to interact with other people.
I would hope so, man. But
because hopefully that's what it is that they're helping them interact with other people, and so that we don't have these awkward moments of, can I take your order? Where they're blinking because they have no idea how to socially communicate. And that's how some people believe with homeschool, is that that's the issue with homeschooling, is that you don't get that social interacting with people.
Well, there's some homeschoolers who like that, but most of the homeschooled people I run into, they socialize just fine. Probably just because from the jobs they worked.
Yeah.
They're not interacting with their hot 26-year-old history teacher. They're interacting with a 44-year-old guy who swam over from Katrina who might have been in jail for cocaine in the kitchen.
Right.
So
Which kitchen line backstories are always great to hear.
Oh,
because they come from all over the place, and it's like, wow.
God, let's go back to that. I worked both front of the house and did a little bit of line cook stuff too. I'm not that much, but I did a little. I always found being a line cook was pretty fun. Yeah, it was more stressful, but I don't know. The people back there were kind of funnier. They're more.
The people outside don't see you, so you get to cut up in the back. Oh, that's what I learned too. Is that it's loose in the back.
It is super loose in the back, dude. When I say diverse, the kitchen line is diverse. I'm not talking about like ethnicity. I'm talking about background. We had this guy. We had one dude who just immigrated from Mexico. I mean, one guy from New Orleans who came over after Katrina. A couple criminals, couple like Marines. I mean, it was kind of fun. It was funny back there because you just meet all kinds of people.
Oh yeah, because things have happened, and that's still an honorable job, and you make good money back there. It was funny because at Chili's in Fultondale, when I got my degree in music education, I had already encountered 3 managers that went for music education and went into the restaurant business.
Right.
And so they told me, well, Nick, time to get your management ready because we know this ain't happening. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot, you know. I was like, it's gonna happen. I promise that this is gonna happen, and I promise this is gonna be a thing.
What are they trying to say?
Come here. You're gonna try to think I'm gonna fail, and they're like,
Maybe
no, we support you in every way. I'm like, quit lying.
Maybe they were bitter about it. Maybe they were bitter about it in a way.
Maybe so, but yeah, I proved them wrong this time. But then occasionally they're like, "You sure you don't want to come back and join the rest of us?" I'm positive. I'm positive because the restaurant business is cutthroat. Because again,
it's rough.
RUFF all day long, front of house, back of house, any way you cook it.
Do you miss it sometimes?
I mean, there's sometimes, but I mean, not a lot. I mean, sometimes I actually still go back and help my sister because they're kind of low on staff at Chili's in Fultondale, and so I'll actually go back and help sometimes. Actually, did New Year's Eve this past New Year's Eve.
Oh,
that reminded me. Thank God for education, because I think after that I looked at my sister and said, "Oh, I miss my children." I said because I can teach my children not to be rude as some other people, but I can't teach adults how to not be rude.
I think jobs like that give you a lot of perspective. They teach you a lot. Jobs like that teach you a lot of things, such as what do you not want to do? I mean, how do I make sure I don't end up here? Not only with the social interaction, but it kind of gives you an idea of what the real world is like.
Yeah, because maybe sometimes I think that's the most important is what not to do and what not to do in this situation and what not to say in this situation. That's more as important than what to do in this situation. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't say this to that person. I should say this to that person. Oh, whatever it cares. You know, you just have to learn through mistakes. And that's the essential. Don't be afraid to make a mistake.
God, a big problem I run into sometimes is because the kind of people I work around is like, obviously it's a lot different from, they're different from a lot of people I'm around in school. So I have a hard time kind of changing that filter. I've been doing a good job this episode, keeping my filter on. But if you listen to the other episodes, I'm a little more of a degenerate on those episodes. But it's funny. I find myself in a lot of situations where I say something and I don't even know it pissed off half the room, or I didn't, I just ran over and stepped on everyone's foot, So there's a certain balance to that.
Right, but sometimes you can't be afraid to I'm going to tell you what I think. Because I think sometimes that's how we are. We stand and we're like, I'm a little afraid to say what I feel about this or feel about that. That's your opinion. That's constitutional right to say what you feel.
I'm not even saying about what stating your opinion. I'm just saying, like, I guess my sense of humor is a little bit messed up. So what I find funny is
But see, with our interaction, I found that great because people who, if I was around the same kind of people every day, then I'd get around you and be like, this is a different atmosphere and I like it. It just changes my day up a little bit.
Yeah, dude. I had a comedian, Tyler Cooper, on the show. Well, he's starting off as a comedian. Yeah. And we talked a little bit about this, and he said he had that issue. Well, he never had that issue, actually. What am I saying? Yeah. Well, there goes that ship. Did I already ask, what do you think, well, I'm going to start with this. What do you think education is going to look like 10, 20 years down the road?
That's hard to say. It's definitely hard to say. I think we're going to be fighting with more of the importance. We have to define the importance because people are definitely, I think, going to get smarter and understand and question what's the importance of this, or this. And we have to start really defining that in the coming years. And, I hate to say that we have to be entertainers, but there was one, Rita Pearson online. She does a sketch, or not really sketch, but she does a seminar really talking about that we're the greatest. Teachers are the greatest actors in the world. Educators are the greatest actors in the world. We have to teach when we don't feel like it. We have to love those who are hard to love, and we just got to keep going even when there's nothing left to give. And so I think there's more of that. We're seeing a lot of that more in education now, is that we have to entertain because Lord knows these kids are talking about Fortnite and Fortnite entertaining and PUBG, and we're seeing all this and that they're being entertained, and we have to combat that, and we have to make sure we're entertaining. So almost to the same that I think comedians and teachers are almost going to be the same person in 20-something years. And also, teachers having a secondary job and wore out in the morning is probably going to be more and more what we're going to see.
I see. Now, what do you think college education is going to look like in 10, 20 years? I got an idea, but I'll let
Ebook.
you go. I'll let you go.
Print's out. Print is out. Ebooks in. And it all depends on the person. And, just like Michael Jackson mentions in Man in the Mirror, that we must look at ourselves first to change the world, that we have to look at the reflection of ourselves to really change.
Right.
Is that we have to, it's all going to depend on who we are right now. And in 10, 20 years, the people that I'm teaching will have an impact in education. They'll vote. They'll have ideas, and they'll help develop things in their own way. So I have to train these kids now to have an open mind, but it all depends on us and how this shapes into it. Because like you said, Dr. Z probably was the best professor I had in college, because
he's been through it.
He's been through it. He was a line cook. Did you know that?
Yeah, him and I always talked about it.
He said, Dr. Z, it cracks me up because he would always ask me restaurant questions right before our lessons. Well, what's the salary for servers? $213. Back in my day, it was $207. I was like, raise! Whoa, God, there's a raise! And,
wait, back in this day, it was $207?
Yeah.
For tips?
Yeah, or $207 plus tips, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
so I ain't saying he's that old, but that was what? He did that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so, minimum wage changed from what? $2 to now $8, $9. Yeah, now, but for servers, it's still $213.
It's still the same thing.
We got a nickel. In those years, we got a nice shiny nickel.
We got a nice shiny penny.
Yeah, we got
Don't spend it all in one place, Timmy.
Right. And so I just, what his work ethic is that he's going to keep going. And he, regardless what the world's going to do, he's going to teach the best that he can. And sometimes I feel that his influence definitely pulls out into my teaching. I feel that all the time.
He's definitely one of those rare cases.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely one of those rare cases that you watch a man care that much, that he's in the office practicing his craft.
God,
5 a.m.
God, he would get so stressed out. Like I've talked to him. There's a couple lessons before my last lesson with him before I headed out to New York. Is I just told him, it's like, man, you'd be a much happier person if you just realize that some of these guys are gonna make mistakes, and they don't do it because they don't do it because they hate you. It's just because we're all stupid. I told him, like, you'd be a much happier dude if you just realized that. And he said, I think he told me something along the lines of, that's just not who I am. I just care too much. I'm like, okay, I can respect that.
True, like, to go in and to miss a note repeatedly, that he took it personal as if you hate me.
He took it personal. I think he sees it in like some weird Japanese samurai bushido way, like I have failed as a teacher, that kind of deal.
I have failed. And it's so funny because I feel the exact same way. I take too much pride into my teaching and too much personal into my teaching that sometimes when my kids don't listen to me, I take it as a personal hit. And I had a Band Booster president come to me one time. She goes, "It's not personal." I said, "Oh, but I take it as." I said, "Not because I have my feelings on my shoulder. It's because I give everything I got." I said, so I start to feel that when they keep missing the same note repeatedly, like, mess up on something different, but don't miss that one note. And I've heard Dr. Z yell that a million times. Don't miss up on that one note. You can miss up on everything else, not the one note.
Yeah, he says that a lot, dude. Here's what I think. Well, in terms of college education, here's what I think it's going to look like in 10, 20 years. I think the new generation's going to get so damn smart. Not only are they figuring out this information, well, as I told you about the videographer, well, I don't know if social media is still going to be booming in 10, 20 years. Probably not, but there's been many young people who dropped out of high school and have been able to, I'm not going to say many because I know a few. Okay, there have been some who've been able to drop out of high school and figure out how to monetize off different revenues that are very out there. Because if you think about it, your social media is basically, it's a business card today.
Yeah.
That's the modern day business card. So going back to what I think school's going to look like 10, 20 years, college-wise, I really think, one, STEM enrollment's going to go up because, everything goes back and forth like a cycle. People are going to people now are starting to realize more and more that, hey, I shouldn't go major in something stupid like underwater basket weaving, or hey, even
My
though
favorite major. I love that. I always love when people are like, I don't want to go, but
I didn't think it was real. No, here's a crazy one, dude. I think there's a major somewhere in Arizona called like interpretive gay dances. And it was like, I can't believe someone's gonna pay for this. It's like, you could read about it. I mean, but it's like you gotta pay for it. But going back to what I was saying, I think STEM enrollment is gonna start going up more, obviously, because more people are starting to get the idea that, hey, I should take my dreams with me wherever I go instead of following them and chasing them to the ends of hell. I should instead, figure out a way to make sure I'm doing okay before I go after these ventures.
Yeah.
That's something I learned. So, and I think enrollment in a lot of fields that aren't popping or booming, that's definitely going to go down. I think the mentality of chasing your dreams, that's going to start going away. The more realistic version of chasing your dreams is take your dreams with you.
True. So I know this is totally your show. Question for you though.
Oh, ask me, man.
Do you think the American dream is currently dead?
You see, from my perspective, I don't think it's dead because, I mean, basically my whole family, I mean, they immigrated from Vietnam, like, either after the Vietnam War or 10 years after the Vietnam War. I mean, they came here during late 70s on my dad's side. I mean, mid 80s, early 90s. I mean, I don't know why people say that, because most people in my family, they had to start over. Some of them were already established engineers, nurses, teachers in Vietnam, and they had to come back, start from scratch. First thing they did was, hey, I'm going to go work in a restaurant for $1.30 an hour.
Right.
So I don't, whenever I hear people say the American dream is dead, I don't know where they're coming from, but I don't agree with it, because
I agree with you there.
I think they just lack a bit of perspective, because I'm in this history class right now. I'm just finishing up core class, but I'm in this history class right now, and there's some people in there who just hate this country. They talk so negatively about it. I'm like, not every place is perfect, but you need to be very grateful of where you are and where you live, because I guarantee you that in many countries around the world, some kids would literally kill to be where you're at.
Yeah.
Like, they will slice open your neck and just go sit in your seat to be where you are at in the world. So I don't think the American dream is dead. Is it harder to achieve now, and do you have to be smarter about it? Yeah. Because the American dream is, I don't think the American dream is getting a house, a nice car, a big paying job, and a happy family anymore. I think the American dream is freedom.
Amen.
To be able to do what you want, to be able to have control over your job, and have enough money saved up where if you wanted to quit and go escape to the Himalayas for 2 years, you can do that. That's the real American dream now. It's freedom. I mean, if you make like $140K a year, but you're working 40 hours a week, and you run into someone making 75 grand, but they're working maybe 2 times out of the week, I mean, guess what I'm going to take? I'm going to take the guy making 75, because he's got 5 days to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the American dream. It's achieving your own freedom. And I don't think that's something people really realize or understand. Maybe because a lot of people who dislike this country, they're in a college environment. They either never worked, or they're not aware of how the world works. So
True.
That's my thing about the American dream.
I agree with you completely. Is that I don't think it's dead. I think some people are too lazy to get it done.
I think it's just morphed.
Yeah, it has morphed, and it is this freedom. It's the freedom to do whatever you want to do. The American dream of living the best you can has to be reestablished. That, yeah, you can live the best you can. Does that mean, as we've talked about throughout this episode, does that mean going to college? Maybe, maybe not. Does that mean still being successful in life? Oh, yeah. Does that mean being happy at life at where you are? Yeah. Picking you up and taking you wherever you want to go. I mean, we can't be stuck in this Alabama state or just in this country or anywhere. Explore the world. See what the world has to offer you.
That's why. That's why. That's why I kind of chuckle when people say study abroad, right? Because I mean, I think it's more educational for you just to go there
Yeah.
on your own. I've been lucky enough to do that. Been to Japan, Vietnam. Vietnam was a good one. Well, I won't even count Canada because Canada's like America 2.0, dude.
I haven't been to Canada, but that sounds like a fun place.
It's like a nicer America 2.0 when it's slightly more, I guess, more liberal and socialist. But you know, it's still a nice place. I mean, that's all I gotta say about it, dude.
Right.
It's nice.
I mean, I learned a lot when UAB went to Ireland for the St. Patrick's Day parade.
Oh man, how many of y'all were drunk, dude?
A good amount.
Good amount?
Not me, because we were still at, it's weird at the age of 18 in Ireland, that's legal age to drink. And here in America it's 21, and so it was really cultural shock kind of see that. But a lot of people, it was funny. The first stop we stopped at was kind of a small village to eat. Then we went to the Guinness factory.
Oh,
that was the stop number 2. Was the Guinness factory.
The Guinness factory.
The Guinness factory, where you got a free pint at the top. And I had, and at that point, I really hadn't had any alcohol before, and so I tried Guinness, which people refer to as black coffee. That's like the strongest thing you could have tried first. And so I came back, and people were like, "Oh God, no wonder you're afraid to try things because God help you, you tried Guinness first." In Ireland, the strongest thing. And and it's interesting to see this historical, America has this over 200 years of history, but the world has much more, and it's really cool to see that other history, just to walk around it.
Not only history, but just get perspective. That's all it is.
Right, and people are always afraid. They're like, when you go into other countries because they seem taken. And yes, is the human trafficking idea on the rise? Yeah, but not everybody's like that. Not everybody, when you go to other countries, is going to just take you. When we went to Ireland, I mean, some of us kind of were lost because we went out. We were just kind of venturing. And this couple was like, "Oh, if you'll take this bus to this location, tell them you're going to the Baldbridge Hotel, which is where y'all at. He'll tell you how to get there." And it was an amazing kind of experience, and that it was really nice. People were very nice.
Oh, mate, here's a random topic. Why do you think so many people like alcohol? I know that's really random because, like, I think earlier I mentioned I don't really drink. Every time I do drink, it's just a taste.
Yeah,
and it's very, very low. Why do you think people like drinking? I never got that.
I think a lot of people like drinking for the fact that it helps them escape reality. Is that it's a feel good. It's anxiety medicine is still a new thing with this, with these anxiety and mental disorders and mental illnesses that are happening. So alcohol was the first thing to cover that because anxiety medicine was a new thing. So alcohol and all that, and plus it was a revenue thing. I think it's a revenue thing for the government, but I also think that as an individual, it starts to make you feel better. Is that some people use that to feel better. My uncle personally used to be an alcoholic. Both of them did, and they've really turned away from that. Really, that really isn't the way. But I do have relatives that are consumed by it because it makes me feel better.
Yeah, I think that could be said about a lot of drugs, and in a way, it's like, I'm for doom. Just do what you want. But at the same time, I feel like you're only putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not really a permanent solution.
It's not the fix inside. It's not, say if you sprain your arm and they put a Band-Aid over it, or you broke your arm and they put a Band-Aid over it. It's not fixing the problem. It's only covering the problem. And I think kind of that's how people are using drugs and alcohol right now, is that it's just putting the covering over the problem so we don't have to view the problem.
Before I go on my next subject, this is actually pretty good. Yeah. I like it a little bit. Evan, 1783. It's not trying to kill you. It's pretty smooth. It's not bad. Even though I probably won't drink it again. It's just going to be there for the next guest if they like whiskey.
That'd be great. Who's your next guest? Do you know?
My next guest is supposed to be a guy named Luke Crowder. He's a beat maker. It's supposed to be, but we're having scheduling issues right now. I'm going to get, you're going to love this. I'm getting Dr. Price on the show at sometime in March.
Yes!
Because
yes!
I love talking to him, dude. He's
so knowledgeable.
He's not only knowledgeable, he's really interesting to talk to. He's got a very interesting take on a lot of stuff. I mean, I know him and we talk a lot about hip hop, but I kind of want to pick at his mind on what he thinks about the education realm. And
I would love to almost be in the room for that.
God, and here's the crazy thing, right? I'm doing a good job toning myself down for you. Hopefully, I'll be able to do the same for Dr. Price. But my thing is,
I'll be the practice.
my thing is, I'm worried about the most is if I'm even at a level yet ready to talk to him, like as a one-on-one,
Right.
a long-form conversation like this. I don't know if I'm intellectually at that level yet, because one guest I really want to bring on is some guy named Dr. Block. He's a Russian Cal professor at UAB who is doing research on topology, and I just
Love it.
I don't know why I want to bring him on. Maybe I'm just crazy, and I just want some weird challenge.
Or maybe you just want to pick his brain to see what kind of information he has.
Maybe that's the thing about it, dude. But going back to the whole alcohol thing, I think
Hold on, side note. Dr. Price loves slasher films.
he does.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Z told me that Dr. Price loves slasher films.
Dr. Price is like that.
He loves Japanese slasher films.
God, he's like that. He's Dr. Price is like that. I guess the best thing I can compare it to is like some dude who'd be the coolest dude, but he lives in his bomb basement and just has like a collection of a bunch of stuff, dude.
Right. But it's like
what-
Dr. Price, he's been through some stuff too, and I think it'd be great for you to interview him on that. I think
Yeah, I
it'd be
would.
great.
And another guest I'm having is I don't know if you ever met Eric Mobley. I'm having him on the show.
That's familiar.
He was like a beastly piano player
Oh,
in school for engineering.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting Zoe and Van on the show. Actually in February, second week of February, because
That's
I want to
awesome.
pick at some engineers' brains.
I hear you. They'll love that. And I think you'll love that. Both of y'all will.
Yeah,
love that.
I think we'll enjoy it. Unfortunately I can't do the UAB studio. I gotta do it here, so I gotta figure out how we're gonna arrange that. But going back to the whole alcohol thing, I think depression is a big thing now. It's more relevant, and mental health is more people have been paying attention to that lately.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's a good thing, because mental health is, you could be like me and say, get over it, wimp or whatever, but sometimes that doesn't work for everybody. So that's why, people resort to alcohol and drugs, because they don't feel like they don't have anywhere to go, and they don't know how to solve the problem.
Oh, yeah. And you were, the first topic, it was interesting when you brought up, the first topic you brought up was bullying and stuff in the school, that's leading people to that because they see their parents drinking or doing drugs, and then they're being bullied in school, and their parents aren't awake, really. And so they think that that's the only issue, too, is that to go to drugs and alcohol in school. And, I use artists during my music appreciation class to say these people, like the rapper NF, how he talks about therapy, that all of this issues going on, it can be settled, and, depression and suicide isn't the answer. And we see that suicidal rates are going up. We see that all these things are happening, and something's got to stop it.
Do you think maybe because life is so easy now? In a way, because think about it, we've always been very goal oriented.
Yeah.
When's the last time you I mean, realistically, if you need to get food, you just go get it.
Right.
If you need to go get water, you can drink water out of the same place you go to the restroom. And you kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
My thing is, like, I think that's why depression is more relevant, because some people don't have that many challenges in front of them to fight, so they feel like they're just kind of stuck in this weird limbo, or they're not working towards anything.
True. And that could be going back to, are we preparing students for life? Maybe that's why they hit depression when they get out in the real world, because all these things bombard them and there's nothing to help. And so that's why I feel like a lot of people do go to the drugs and alcohol. It's because when they get out there in the real world, they are bombarded by so much. Bill collectors, work, insurance, taxes, and they have no idea how to really compromise and go through that. And so I do think that's why people are turning to drugs and alcohol. And, just some of the students do understand that some of my heart is suicide prevention. That's my heart. It's that, suicide isn't the answer.
No, it's not.
But people feel that it is.
It's sad because I think you were still in school when you heard about that girl who killed herself at UAB.
Yeah, that was yeah.
Yeah, that was really sad. I think they said like the reason she killed herself was, I don't know, but somebody said it had to do with stress from school. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's so sad. Like, what? I mean, some people might insult and say, wow, you're killing yourself over school, but I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at if she was going to kill herself over school, right? What else was going on with her life?
Right. That something has to change.
There's something more to it. I mean, recently in Alabaster, right? Thompson High School, they just arrested some guy bringing in, he brought a pistol, like 2 shotguns and a bunch of drugs and a bunch of money and cash. I mean, yeah, it's one thing to get mad at him, right? Of course it's his fault. He's stupid.
Right.
But that means something else really went wrong in his life, and you can only feel pity, and you can only hope that he's going to change his life around.
I agree. But I mean, it's just sad that he felt that was the answer. And school shootings are on the rise. I remember when Columbine happened, that people like, God, that's crazy. Like, same idea when people with 9/11, someone hijacking, like that's crazy. And now it's, the school shooter, that's a drill we're having to definitely practice, is after active school shooter, and the policies have changed. It used to be, and I remember in high school, intruder drill or whatever we called it, everyone needs to go into a corner and be quiet. Now it's they need to disperse, all the kids need to disperse hidden in the room and have some kind of weaponry with them.
How do you feel about that?
I just think that we have to adapt with the times, that if this is our reality, we need to train our kids that if someone's going to come in here, here's what's going to happen. And that's kind of how my policy is in the band room, is I already have it set up. Who's going to put desk in front of this? Who's going to put desk in front of that door? And color guard poles. I got at the band room, we have tons of weapons, as in, the metal of the percussion, the metal of the color guard poles. And it's a sad reality, but we have to adapt to that sad reality.
Now, I mean, for a while, some people were talking about, they're saying that teachers should have guns. I mean, how do you feel about it? Because it's kind of, well, yeah, it's kind of, it will help, supposedly. And, it's kind of like a peace of mind there. But I wanted to hear your opinion on how would you feel about having educators, go through some conceal carry training, just in case things got that bad. Because sometimes the worst thing you could do in a situation when someone else has a gun is pull out a gun. Yeah. Because they might react to that. Maybe they're not trying to kill anyone. Maybe they just want to get something. So, I mean, it's such a tricky situation to deal with, because in order, I'm not going to talk like I know what it's like, but I can only imagine to pull a trigger on somebody that takes a lot for just the normal civilians like us to deal with. Right. Like if you're a Navy SEAL, like whatever, another day in the office.
That's normal, but for us, if you're going to pull a gun, it's you need to be risking everything. You need to be pulling everything or nothing. You need to pull as an all in on the table and give it everything you got. My personal thoughts of that. Many educators are against it. I know a lot of music educators are against it, saying if they make us get that, that's not what I signed up for. Funny for me, I'm just like, if the government's willing to pay for it, sure.
You're like, hey, the government's gonna give you a free gun. I got it.
Right. But I do think that parents need to be at peace of mind, and this is going to help have a peace of mind.
Honestly, I think just having more police presence on campus, or security guards.
Yeah. I really like the idea. I mean, I don't know if anyone's used it. The idea UAB has about the buttons.
Oh, that?
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's used it and found that if it works or not, but I like the idea that, you press a button, you need to go to the next one and the next one, and they're all in looking distance so the cops know where you're going. Mm. Like if you're being chased or something weird is happening, you press one button and the UAB police is notified. Then you press another button and they know that this isn't a drill. You press a third one and they know where you're going. They can see where you're heading.
That's crazy, man. I mean, I'm sure you heard about that. What happened on a UAB campus where I think 2 people were forced to kind of rape each other because somebody held them at gunpoint.
Are you talking about the parking lot that one time?
Yeah, the parking lot. I mean, it's scary times we live in, but I think it happened. What time did it happen at?
Probably middle of the night.
Probably like 2 a.m. from what I heard.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it was definitely at a dark hour in a dark parking lot.
It's sad, but at the same time, I mean, God, I don't know how to be gentle about this because, I mean, I don't know how to be gentle about it, but you just gotta be smart about it, man. You can't be out.
Self-defense classes. I know one of the teachers at Cherokee, she's taking her daughter, and as a gift for graduation, she's paying for self-defense classes.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think that's we just have to be more aware, and I think people like that are taking advantage because we're looking down at a phone a lot of the times. Oh, let me walk and let me, I don't want to feel like that weird person, so I'm gonna look down so I don't have to talk to nobody. But at the same time, you're so not aware of what's happening around you. You're so unaware. Is that you're so looked down, you're not aware of what's happening. And we just have to look up when we're going through there. And a lot of times, especially UAB crossing the streets at all, Lord knows you'd get hit if you did. You can't look down at your phone, even in daylight, because you might get hit by a car.
Yeah. The idea of trusting somebody to follow a traffic law and you not get hit, nah, I ain't taking that risk.
I ain't either. If they hit me, sure, it's their fault. UAB will pay for my tuition, but
if that's a good idea.
I mean, I remember a lot of us, like Cody Ray and I, would talk, and we just stayed outside during the time of stress, going, if that car hits us, UAB pays. If we have the right of way and that car hits us, Cody, go get your car.
Cody, get your car right now.
Cody, go get your car. I'm gonna walk and just love tap me. Don't, and I'll just yell. Just we gotta get through this together, and then I'll get in my car.
But yeah, about that case though, that was terrible. But at the same time, it's better to be out in an urban environment at 2 or 3 in the morning. There's some places in Bronx where you don't walk in broad daylight, dude.
Oh yeah.
Just be
real. You have to know your places.
God, because it's such a terrible thing that happened to him, but at the same time, it's, what are you doing, man?
What were you thinking?
What are you doing, man? You know what I mean? It's such a terrible thing. At the same time, it's like, oh well. I'm trying not to piss off people on this episode, dude. That's what I'm trying to do.
But you just have to be aware, and I think that's the essential answer to that, is that we have to, as a people, have to be aware of things that are happening. We have to be aware of what's happening in our world. And, if you're going to go into a dark parking lot at 2 a.m., just be aware. If you're going to go walking down the street, even if you feel like you know the place, be aware. If you're going to a party, like for the people, maybe if college kids are listening, is that if you're going to a party, don't just take a drink.
Yeah, there's some bad people out there, man.
Right.
They'll take advantage.
Right. Be aware.
Be very aware. Man.
Be very aware of what's happening. Self-awareness, not just for your body, but for your environment. Be self-aware.
For your well-being, man. Something random. Something I've been picking up, dude, is along with powerlifting, I've been getting back to boxing, man. It's fun. Yeah. That's good. Help me feel better. I think more people need to go exercise or do something or pick up a hobby. I think that'll help with depression,
Oh, I agree too. Some kind of hobby, something, whatever it's got to be. And so, yeah, this New Year's resolution's for me to get back in the gym and do stuff like that. So,
okay, are you actually going to do it?
Yes, because there's going to be a gym right down the road from me, and so it'll be convenient. So it's going to be great. I'm actually going to move, not schools, but just location of where I'm living,
right,
to a nearby town. I'm actually renting February 1st. I'll be renting an apartment.
Okay.
Above a bookstore.
Ooh.
It's going to kind of remind me of old UAB times. It's Tuscumbia, Alabama. It's kind of an older town where that's where Helen Keller was.
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, she lived in Tuscumbia, and so it's right next to a coffee shop. You go up and it just looks gorgeous. And there's a park right behind the apartments, huge park that everyone goes to. There's also I love it. There's a dry cleaners a block up.
Because the apartment, dry cleaning. Okay,
right, dry cleaning.
Laundry for some reason.
Well, they have that too, in case. But the apartment has laundry and has both of those, laundry, wash and dryer. And then there's a gym right down the road, like a powerlifting gym. So I just thought about getting back into that, just exercising, and and just I guess the biggest thing I've learned this year is you got to get away somehow. work, especially music or just in teaching, I've lived 5 minutes away from the school, which was great for those late football games. But at the same time, I felt like I never left work.
Oh, I see.
And so to go to a town nearby, just live in Tuscumbia, which just, I feel like the other day when I looked into it and kind of started talking about getting the apartment, I was like, I can feel that I can escape. I can go to the coffee shop down below, drink some coffee, sit outside, go to the park, go wherever I want, and just feel like I can be me. Because right now I go into my house, especially because it's like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and now it's dark, and I kind of lock the door, cook dinner, go to bed. There's no excitement.
Must be convenient, though.
It is convenient, but I think what you need to have for my own mental health is to get away. Is to get away and just kind of step back and to say, okay, is this best for me?
Man, another thing people need to do is they need to stop comparing themselves to other people. That's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, some people, they tie their value, their self-worth to an arbitrary number. Whether that's likes, or comments, or followers, it's dangerous.
It is dangerous is that people are like, hey, this person has that many followers, this person looks like this, person looks like that. Who cares what they look like? Who cares what they are? You got to figure out you, but people are comparing themselves to a cookie cutter idea of what a guy's supposed to be or what a girl's supposed to be. There's this cookie cutter idea. Oh, guys need to look and do this. But that's not the real reality.
That's not the case. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's got different goals. I mean, and they also say comparison is the greatest thief of joy. Because of course some beautiful Asian lady's gonna get more likes than me. She's beautiful. I ain't heard about it. It's like, okay, whatever. I'll just go like her picture. Cool, whatever. That's that,
Right. And to people today, they post things that are random because of the idea that, I just got to get likes.
It's the same as drugs, dude. They need that fix.
I need you to like my Instagram. Go like my picture.
I don't know. It's so stupid.
I mean, I agree, but that's what I think a lot of people look at is that we have to have likes. The internet, and I don't know, it's just the young generation.
I think it screws up people in the real world too, because once they get out of that environment, or they realize you start falling off, like people from high school, kind of fell off. You just don't talk to them anymore. It ain't that personal. Well, now they gotta deal with it.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, I have so many friends on Facebook. Do you? Do they know you?
I don't know. Maybe we sound crazy because we're obviously older. Slightly
we're older. I think we are older more mentally and physically than a lot of people, but I don't know. I feel like I'm an old man inside.
Maybe, dude. Maybe it comes with this. Maybe it comes from you taking your job too seriously, like Dr. Z, man.
Maybe so. Maybe so, but but everybody, I don't know, these people like, I don't know, kids nowadays, God bless them. I got a student, just in students in general, they're like, my girlfriend, boyfriend, significant other is they're 5 states away, but they love me and I love them. Well, have you met them? No, we've just seen each other on the internet. But
it's online?
Yeah, but I'm like, have you physically seen them? Well, I saw a picture of them.
Are you sure that's not a 34-year-old man?
That's what I keep telling
That's
them.
why you gotta talk to him on the phone, dude, like FaceTime now. I mean, yeah, nothing's wrong with long distance, stuff like that. I don't know if it works out. Most of them don't work out because, I mean, to any relationship, there needs to be some physical contact. I mean, that's kind of, as blunt as it sounds. That's why you get in a relationship with somebody, because you want to, yeah. But anyways, there needs to be
the physical attraction, the physical need to have somebody right there next to you.
Exactly.
But
thanks for breaking that rated G.
You're good. Me. But really, I mean, that's kind of how that works, and I feel the same way on that. But it just cracks me up when a lot of these people and students are like, well, my person that loves me is 5 states away. I've never seen them, but I know they love me with all their heart. You sure?
Well, it sounds really one-sided, dude.
Right.
They're already cheating on each other. They're 13. They're already
right,
having sides.
And that's my thing. They're like, we're going out. Where you going? They're 5 states away and you have no car.
Where you going?
Where you going?
Well, I'm going to Montana. I'm going to Montana. Where she live? Montana. Oh, this ain't good. This ain't a good sign.
This ain't a good sign, because what happens when you get there and she's like, oh, you were serious?
What happens when you get there and it turns out to be a 34-year-old morbidly obese man? Huh? We got a big problem here now. We got a big problem.
Because if your parental ain't going with you like they should, you all by yourself.
Oh man, does that really happen? Like, I didn't think kids were getting long distance relationships online.
I don't know. Kids are. Do I believe it? I don't know. But I mean, that's what they're saying, is that these are happening. And
you think maybe they're just coming up with the excuses because everyone's like saying they have boyfriend, girlfriend, and they just don't want to get made fun of?
I think it goes back to the idea that they have to compare themselves to somebody like that. Oh, well, so and so has a girlfriend, so I have to have one.
Nobody knows what's going on. I mean, well, I say this because I'm older. Because obviously, when you were in that environment, everything's in terms of like school environment. This is a negative thing about public education. It's just a big popularity contest, man. That's what it turns into. Yeah, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
It just, I don't know.
It does. It turns into who's popular, who has more likes, who has a better style, who is this or that, and it's like that's not really what matters.
That's not, dude. That's why, like, going crazy here. Well, that's awkward. I'm gonna have to edit it.
It's all good. I mean, what else? What else are we gonna throw down?
Man. Oh, here's a good one, man. So, do you think teachers are underpaid? Because I read this article on Time Magazine, right, where some lady, like, they were saying, like, oh, I make $77K a year in Tennessee, and I have to donate plasma to make enough money. And I'm thinking, okay, $77K in Tennessee, that's a very livable wage, right?
Right.
So that means, in my opinion, what you have is, it's not a problem of you not getting paid enough. It's you not paying attention to what the hell you're spending your money on.
I think
that's my opinion. So I mean, there's this narrative going on that's saying teachers aren't paid enough, right?
Right.
But you have to understand, they only work 9 months out of the year. So if you're making a tasty salary of $77K, working 9 months out of the year, you know how many people work 12 months out of the year and make $47K?
Right. They make a lot less than that.
Jesus Christ.
You know what? I think I saw that same article.
I was getting so mad at it, dude.
And what is not mentioned is, does she have kids? Is she married? Is there a second income? Yes or no? Does she have kids that they have to go up to? Yes or no? Because a lot of teachers do give a lot of their time to their profession, and sometimes their spouse either leaves or something happens, or they're single and they have to deal with their single parent, so they have to pop out that money to pay the school systems for those kids, and vice versa. And it does get hefty, and plasma deep. That's no pun intended, but that's deep. It all depends. I mean, Alaska, they're willing to pay $80,000 for new teachers in Alaska.
No one's gonna go out there.
Right. They're gonna try their best to get people out there in the cold, and sometimes it's an American state that touches Canada. Like, you have to have things imported and exported out, and so yes,
yeah. Jeff Bezos, your Amazon Prime man. Jeff Bezos was like, "Oh yeah, give me a month, man. You'll get your you get Amazon Prime shipment, dude."
Right? Yeah, you'll eventually get that because I'm way out here, and that's why shipping is so high. But are teachers underpaid? Sometimes. I mean, do I believe it? All depends on the state and the community, because each school district pays differently.
Right.
And that's something I was not aware of when I was in the UAB for School of Education and Department of Music, is that teachers get, in different counties and different sections and different districts, they all get paid differently. And so the salary, we all got fed the number $39,000 is the starting salary for teachers in the state of Alabama. But I know a lot of teachers who get paid more than that.
Right. Starting?
Yes, starting. I know teachers that get paid more than that, and I also know teachers who get less than that. And so it all depends on the school district, and that's how your funding comes in. Is there a high number of attendance? That's why we push in attendance right now. High number of attendance. Are the kids coming to school? How many kids are in that school district? How many kids are in that school? And that's how the funding comes in.
God, it's so corporate, man. It sounds like you're just working at a corporate office. That's all it is. You're crunching numbers. You're
crunching numbers. We need the kids, which are our product. Our kids are our product. And that's the unfortunate, is that, it depends. Again, it all depends. I feel like I make okay, and I'm doing okay, and I feel like I'm fine. But some teachers I don't feel like I'm fine, and there's these other fees and stuff that comes in. Part of it may be that student loan debt. Who knows?
It probably is. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that lady had 150K in debt and didn't think about it.
Right, and then a lot of credit card debt going into
it didn't mention anything about that.
It didn't mention that, and so the article was talking about how teachers are underpaid, and I think it was like more of a satirical kind of saying, "Haha, we really don't," but we didn't get enough information from that article.
We did, dude. It's like serving. It's almost like serving spaghetti and meatballs, but you leave out the meatballs and the spaghetti. So now you just left with some stupid tomato sauce,
right? And you have to convince them that that's spaghetti.
That's why that article just made me so mad, because you're leaving out so many things, man. Like, how am I supposed to believe this lady? Okay, she lives in Tennessee. Here's what I know: she lives in Tennessee. She makes $77K a year. Okay, you didn't say you lived in Nashville,
right.
Which I'm pretty sure you can make you'd be okay if you were making $77K in Nashville. So that means something's wrong with you. You know?
There's other information that we do not know. Yeah, does she live in Nashville, or does she live in one of these? I don't know. With that paycheck, she has to live somewhere around the Nashville area.
She probably lives somewhere nice. She's probably.
But see, that you don't, and that's something Dr. Z preached. He said, when you get your first job, you don't need a new up-to-year model car, because it's going to run the exact same.
It's going to take you to the exact same place.
It's going to take you to the exact same place, use the same, almost, it depends, kind of gas to get you there. It's going to work, and the heat's going to turn on. Gas is going to go just like any old car. You don't need to go buy you a huge house. Unnecessary. And I know a lot of teachers who do go out there and splurge on a new house, and they like to flaunt wealth, and that's fine. I just can't do it.
That's also what pissed me off about some Vietnamese people just flaunting wealth, dude. What's the point? Who are you showing off to?
Right.
Nobody's going to marry you.
You still single.
Well, I take that back. I actually take that comment back, because some people will.
Right. But I mean, they're in it for the money, not the actual reasons. But yeah, I mean, it all depends on how life is for you. And, no, do I have all the up-to-date stuff? No. Do I want to? No. I just need to survive. I need to survive in this world.
But not everyone has that mentality.
Right. Sure. Not everybody has that mentality, but I definitely see teachers who have large stately houses.
Everyone wants to live like they make the money of the doctor without putting in the work.
Everybody wants to live like MC Hammer.
Yeah. It's almost like you were saying, that entitlement thing. It's everywhere, man. Everyone wants to get somewhere, but they're not willing to eat dirt for it.
Yeah.
Like, if I were to tell you, Nick Tyler, are you willing to eat dirt for a year straight, go through all that pain and suffering? If you were able to eat free food for the rest of your life, I'd do it.
Amen.
I would do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing this. I heard somewhere that I think a university or some research, they're offering $100K to someone who basically takes themselves off the grid for a year. That means like no Facebook.
Where do I sign up?
No Instagram. I think someone already signed up.
Dang.
But yeah, dude.
I mean, if they're willing to see and they want to test my mental stability after going off the grid, and if they want to put me in a nice house to do it, by God, I will.
God,
Let me tell you, I will make things happen.
I think people are afraid of being away from people. That's what they're afraid. That's why people don't want to do it.
And that could be. They're afraid. They're afraid of all these things that are happening. They're afraid to get away, and they're afraid that they won't have the knowledge. Oh, I'm not getting the information up to date that people are eating and what they're doing in their daily lives. It doesn't matter. Like,
no, they don't.
It really doesn't matter. And I think that we live in a society that's like, you have to have these nice houses, and you have to be happy is to have wealth. To have wealth is to have debt, which is not the case.
Yeah. Most of them don't link wealth to wealth as a tool for freedom. They just, I guess, man. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up here in a second, because I went through the whole list and we actually did some topics. We went off topic, as I told you.
I think this was great. This was absolutely fun.
Yo, is there anything else you want to talk about, dude, or add about AMEA?
I just think it's definitely going to be a fun experience after getting my second year of teaching in, to see kind of, again, I worked the UAB booth religiously. I was the face of UAB's booth those years I was at it. And so to come out of this again, my second year, to know different what I know now, I think it's essentially AMEA is you get out what you put in, just like anything else. You get out what you want, and you get out and you you get out what you put into it. And to me, my life's philosophy is, the world is a garden. Pluck what's ripe. You better put in your basket what is right before someone else does.
Oh yeah. Another thing someone said was opportunities available for those who go take it. You can always wait for opportunity, but don't expect the good ones to be there.
Right. When opportunity knocks, you better answer it, but you better check yourself or you wreck yourself, because you never know what's that opportunity is going to be, and so you just got to be watching. And to me, as a teacher, I think it's just important that we're raising young ones to understand that the opportunity's coming, but it may not come when you want it to, and you just got to go out there and grab it.
I think if there's one important thing you should teach, it's patience. Teach kids how to be patient with themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that'll go a very long way.
And I think that that's maybe part of our hurt too, is that we're in a technology world where everything is spontaneous. I mean, have you seen people, if something takes more than 5 seconds to load, this internet is terrible, what are we going to do now?
I catch myself saying it sometimes, but then I tell myself, hang on, my phone is going to space and it's coming back. Let me give it a minute.
Right. People are like, it won't load. This service is terrible. I remember
dial-up?
Yeah, that dial-up stuff. And it's funny in my music appreciation class when we actually start current and go backwards. Ooh. And so in 2 weeks, we'll go through 2010 to present.
I think that's interesting.
It is an interesting approach because I think it latches to them what they know is current. If I start in the year 1000, like we did with Gregorian chants, I've lost the class within 2 seconds.
I hated that class so much, dude. Dr. Irvin just let me pass because he liked me. So I was like, yeah, I didn't learn anything from this class, dude.
Right.
As messed up as it sounds, dude.
But it's all right. It's the Gregorian chants. Who could learn anything besides the old ancients? But I start back, and so when we get the early 2000s, I bring up the idea of dial-up, and when we get into the 90s, I bring up the idea of, hey, dial-up is starting to be thought about. And so I bring that up to them, and I'm like, have you ever heard the sound? And they're like, what's that screeching noise? I'm like, it's called dial-up. That's what we suffered through. What happened, and there's on the React channel on YouTube, there's a video of kids working and operating Windows 95 for the first time, and it is hilarious to watch because they're like, you have to press the power button on the screen and the computer, and you have to hold it down, and it makes large noises, and it's weird sounding.
Don't you still got to do that now? You got to turn on the monitor and the computer? I don't know.
Sometimes, was it MacBook? Is it still just one button?
I mean, yeah, because the monitor is the computer itself.
Right. So
I'm not talking about laptop. I'm talking about the desktop.
Right. To me, yes.
Like my PC I built, but it's,
Right, I agree with that. You do have to do that, but back in the day, you have to actually press it. You have to press it, hold it for a minute.
You got to hold it in there, man.
Yeah, and right. You had to hold it in there, and then the floppy. I learned that the floppy disk is such an ancient tool.
It is.
And and so then I also bring up in the 80s the rotary phone. I bring that to the kids, and I show them a demo of the rotary phone, and they're like, takes so long. I said, you hated people with zeros in their number. Like if they had a 0, you're like, why do you hate me? Because that had to go all the way around. But it was great. When you slammed the phone, it had that ding noise. Ding. Oh, yeah. Now if you slam your phone down, you ain't got no phone.
You ain't got no phone anymore, dude.
Yeah. And so, but I think that's, just patience is key, because we see that if something takes more than 5 minutes, 5 seconds slow, that we're aggressive, and that if this isn't instantaneous in education, we're giving online classes in education, or we're just doing this where it's like the students have to have instant feedback, but not everything in the world is instant.
If you can't wait 5 minutes for something, what makes you think you're going to be able to duke it out for years to go for what you want to go? To work for what you want to do.
Right. Like it took me 5 years to teach you. It took me 5 years. And people, and it's so funny. There's this still stigma of, oh, Mr. Tyler, what happened to you? Why didn't you get your degree in 4 years? Because I don't know if that's a thing anymore. A 4-year degree, I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
It is for some people. Some people are like, I just want to get the hell out of school. They get done in 3 years.
Right. Lewis Black talks about that. He talks about Ritalin, and that's a whole different conversation. But, that if he had Ritalin in college, he'd got his degree in 3 days.
Yeah.
He's like, if I had the focus like the kids have, I could could get this done. But I think patience is a key situation that we have to teach in the schools. But I think that we're going to get there as a community. We just got to get there together, and we just got to look back as a music person. We got to look back at these artists who are preaching, Michael Jackson, all them, Pink and stuff like that, who are revolutionary in what we're doing.
Well, I guess I guess that's it, man. Patience is just such an important lesson to learn just in life. Nick Tyler, thanks for coming out, man.
Hey, always thanks for having me on.